So here's the checklist. This checklist is designed to be completed in order. These are the 7 steps, and they are laid out in this order on purpose. Very often, I've seen a lot of people get stuck and confused and frustrated because they're trying to do some of the right things, but they're doing it kind of backwards or in some kind of a random order. The reason these steps are in this order is because each one builds on the last. By doing step 1 first, you're setting yourself up for steps 2 and 3 to be able to tackle those things easier. It's always worth starting from number 1 and then working your way through from there. Now, GHL 101 does walk you through step 1, basically, so that is a good resource to have. But I could guide you through the main things that that covers in like just a few minutes, to be honest with you. And in fact, we actually have it down here as well. So there's not much. Well, if that's the case, then you perhaps don't strictly need GHL 101.
Good.
GHL 101 is talking about step 1 on the checklist, and it will also guide you through how to set up a sub account as well. That would apply to your sub account and your client sub accounts. Again, basic stuff, nothing crazy. And we can go through some of that together if needed, but you may not need to.
I tell you what would probably be easier, let me go through that list and then I'll make a checklist of things that I possibly could use some help with. That way it saves everyone time and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah, I could. That's fine. That's fine. Nice. Thank you, Keith. I'll come on to that in just a moment if that's okay, Keith. In terms of the next steps, Bobby,
Mhm.
how confident are you in having defined your offer and audience? Yesterday you said it sounded like you have an audience, but also you've got opportunities coming in from other industries and other niches. What's your thought process there?
I've got a couple of interesting opportunities. Starting, I got into the agency to kind of specifically call on contractors. I know the contracting world. I was a maintenance technician. I was in campus operations for years. I know the small business world when it comes to single entrepreneurs and whatnot. So I wanted to focus on the construction contractor world. But in the last decade, I've been part of small business groups that are pretty much come from every side, real estate, chiropractors, things like that. And so I'm having opportunities in front of all of those organizations. Specifically, the Chamber of Commerce is, I had them seek me out. The one in the city where I live, they seek me out because they found out that there was a kind of the AI receptionist missed call text back to pretty much every industry that I talk to. I
Yeah.
understand every single one of them. I understand, I ask questions naturally, and so I can
Yeah.
probably understand what everybody on this call does in a matter of 20 minutes.
I mean that there's getting at one of the things that I've taught in the past and will continue to teach now is different types of niches. Everyone says, hey, you should have a niche. Different types of niches, or at least the way that I see it, just very broadly speaking, is you can have people-based niches, which is what most people lean towards, which is I'm targeting a certain type of person or certain type of business. You've got problem-based niches. And then on top of that, you've got a combination of both of those. So your niche might be a certain type of person that has a certain type of problem.
Mhm.
That would obviously niche it down even more. But your niche could be either just a certain type of person and you're kind of solving a broad array of problems all at once. And a platform like HighLevel allows you to do that. It's an all-in-one sales marketing automation platform. So you can solve many problems at once for a certain type of for a certain type of person or a certain type of business. Equally, you could have a problem-based niche, and so you're focusing less on the type of person that you're targeting and more so on the specific problems that you solve. And then you could take those solutions to basically anyone that has those problems. So, which may be a helpful way of thinking about it.
Yeah, I think that I may have been thinking about it in the sense of calling on a specific market, like calling on a contractor rather than a financial advisor and whatnot. The actual pain point process is kind of the niche that, like you described. So that,
Yeah, more of a problem, more of a problem-based niche. And your niche is anyone that has that problem effectively.
yeah,
Which gets at something else that I teach or try and teach most often is start with something simple sooner is the
sure.
little motto that I have used during my time at Extendly and now. I've worked with a lot of people that spend a lot of time trying to think through every single thing they might ever be able to do for anyone and think what are all of the things that I can do for someone in high level, and let me try and turn all of that everything into a snapshot
Yeah.
of some description. And I've seen time and time again that just not work out very well. You're still there 6 months later and you still haven't sold anything.
Right.
And that's not a business.
Correct.
That's that there's an expensive hobby.
And I think to be honest, I know that we make fun of, and I think that some make fun of, but we see these. We're always I'm always telling my kids, I'm always telling my family, we've got to be aware of the AI sellers out there. What exactly are we selling? And within Go High Level, within this community, they're the ones, and I'm living proof of it. I'm sure others are too. We get into that quick ticket of, hey, I can do this, and we say it's super simple, you're going to learn this. But man, it takes a lot of damn work to understand not just one tool, but tons of tools in one. I've had to reset and refocus. And I think this community, Andrew starting the power user and creating
Mhm.
that community, it saw that, hey, I'm gonna use this in a figurative sense, but hey,
So it sounds
I'm,
like you've got a good bit of clarity and fiction in the audience being like, okay, it's a problem-based niche, that's fine. As far as the offer is concerned, I sensed some uncertainty about the offer itself, but perhaps that's easily resolved with just some encouragement to say start with something simple sooner. You don't have to try and over-engineer for every possible problem someone may ever have in their business right now. Like you can start with a smaller, simpler solution now, launch that. And that in itself may be something that you do want to spend more time on still anyway, which is perfectly fine. But that can then evolve as time goes on. As you start to spend more and more time with different types of businesses, you will naturally find more patterns and more themes and trends and more ways in which you can solve more of their problems using the same platform. So you can build more stuff into your offering down the road. You don't have to try and figure it all out up front. And that will allow you to move quicker. It'll allow you to start generating revenue sooner and and all of that's good stuff. The next two things on the checklist is building your agency sub account and then building your client snapshot sub account. The reason I put these in that order rather than the other way around is your agency sub account is the one that you are going to be using for yourself. If and I put this in this order particularly for newer high level users, so it won't necessarily be relevant for everyone. But in your own sub account, you've kind of got a little bit more freedom to not know what you're doing and to not have everything figured out. It's a nice playground where you can build stuff a little bit inefficiently, or you can build
Mhm.
stuff that maybe doesn't necessarily work in the best way possible because it's not going anywhere else.
Right.
It's okay for it to not be your best work. It's a good environment for you to just test and figure stuff out for the first time. You don't really want to be doing that in the snapshot that you're giving to your clients. And that's really it. That's really it. It doesn't mean you're going to be a complete expert by the time you ever build anything for a client. There will
Mhm.
still be stuff that you are still learning and figuring out. That's fine. But you can at least work your way through a lot of the more foundational lessons in setting up your own agency sub account first, and then you can carry that into your client snapshot account, and you're that much further along, and you're much more confident in what you're building and how you build it and so on. So that's really that. As far as the agency sub account itself is concerned, the absolute bare minimum that I think that anyone needs is some kind of a sales funnel that allows you to take payments and booked calls. Obviously, it would promote your service, it would say all the great things about it, and then and then the two call to actions would be to sign up now or book a call with me if you want. Then you would need the corresponding workflows to support both of those things. That would be absolutely bare minimum. Of course, you can build on that later, you can add more stuff in there, but appointment scheduling workflows, onboarding workflows, those sorts of things would be bare minimum. Would you say that you've got those things in place at the moment? Or
Yeah, I would say so. We have on our contact page, we have a form,
yeah,
and that form just goes to a pipeline for a new lead. Other than that, I really don't, and I'm gonna go double check, but I don't think there's like an automation that does anything when that happens.
okay.
That's one of those things that's on the list, and I really do like this. I'm gonna go find it, or if you want to put it in the chat or something.
Yep.
I've carved out tomorrow morning.
Yeah, feel free to, if this is helpful at all, then feel free to share it with him as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so that would be your agency sub account in terms of funnels and workflows. Of course, on top of that, this here is the stuff that GHL 101 walks you through.
Yep.
So you would need to make sure you've got your Stripe account connected. It needs to be the same Stripe account at the agency level and in the sub account. You want to have registered a phone number, presumably, set up your email domains. You can send emails, connect Google, Facebook, and any other integrations that apply to anything that you're doing. Complete the My Profile page. This is for you personally. This is your calendar, your availability. Connect your Zoom account, etc. And then connect your website domain, which will then be connected to the funnel that we mentioned down here. That would be the minimum viable to-do list in terms of setting up a agency sub account, which would also be very similar for your client sub accounts as well when they go through their onboarding. The next thing then is the client snapshot. I'm not sure what you've got here at the moment, but this piggybacks very nicely on the offer and audience stuff that we spoke about in step 2. Once you know what you're working with in terms of the offer and audience, it becomes a lot easier to actually build something around that. Again, you don't need to try and solve for every single problem someone might have ever, but you could build just a very simple module that is like the AI receptionist, a couple of workflows firing on the back end of it, sending out some notifications, sending out some follow-up. It can be very lightweight to begin with. It doesn't need to be crazy, particularly because you're also not setting anything in stone. It can evolve as time goes on. So there's a lot that I can talk about on this topic in
Hmm.
terms of snapshot planning, mapping, documentation, etc. Um, that could be a whole conversation on its own. But did you have any sort of thoughts or questions on this just based on?
Yeah. So mine, I guess strategy wise, is it easier to build the snapshot? Let's say I'm going to meet um, a small gym tomorrow.
Mhm.
Is it easier to build that snapshot on the front end, or is it easier to do a sub account and then download that snapshot?
Sure. So, good question. So, what I recommend doing is building the snapshot in its own dedicated sub account and then saving it as a snapshot from there. So, that's not a sub account that you're giving anyone access to. Your
Hmm.
clients are not logging into that sub account, but you're building the snapshot in its own dedicated space. Then you can copy and paste it into client sub accounts from there. So you always have like a master copy
Hmm.
that is kept to one side. That is where you build it. That's where you update it. That's where you make changes to it if needed. You do that in the master copy, and then you're simply pasting it into other sub accounts as needed.
Okay.
Yeah, which this little bit here talks about a little bit more in terms of like best practice.
Okay.
Um,
Good.
so you can You can have a quick whiz through that if you wanted to.
Yep.
From there, you've got your SaaS plans, which I happen to know this is something you already have pretty much done. So
Hmm.
I don't think much action is needed here from you, but this would be then the next step is setting up your SaaS plans all the way up to the point of adding them to your website. So simply creating them in the SaaS configurator is fine. And I think you actually mentioned at the moment, are you just sending out the Stripe link to people?
Yeah, well, that was one of the confusions. I sent inside of GoHighLevel.
Yep.
I sent the SaaS configurator link to a,
Yep.
a contractor. And when he registered, I had already pre-built the sub account for him and everything. And
Mm.
then when I sent it from there, it made him an entire different account. So
Yes.
I'm assuming that I did it incorrectly. I should have done it from the sub account and added his payment method that way, but
Sure.
I'm really not sure.
Yeah, sure. So what happened there is to be expected. That is the normal behavior of the SaaS configurator. When someone new signs up through the SaaS configurator, whether it's the SaaS configurator Stripe link that you gave, or if you've added the SaaS product to your own website and someone buys it from there instead, it is always going to make a new sub account for that person. So what happened there is normal. What you would do instead, you've got two options. And again, I know you've already dealt with this time, but for the next go around, you've got two options. Either in the sub account settings, which let me just yeah, no, for sure. And I'd like to think this is useful stuff for most people to go through anyway, whether they know it already or not. Hopefully is a nice refresher. Say you've already built a sub account for someone and now they're
Hmm.
signing up to a SaaS plan after the fact. The couple of options that you have, what I would typically do as like the recommended option would be to simply go to their sub account in the in your agency level, effectively going into their sub account settings, go to SaaS, and then you can manually add a plan from this page directly. So they don't actually need the SaaS configurator checkout link at all.
Ah, okay.
You can add a plan directly to a sub account that already exists.
Okay.
There's that option. They would then need to go into their sub account and go to the billing page and actually add a credit card so they can actually pay for it. And that's something that they would need to do. But you can kind of set that up for them and they can just log in and do that rather than going through a whole checkout process. The other thing, the other option would be to make a snapshot of what you've built in the sub account that you've already created and have them still go through the SaaS configurator checkout link and then just load that snapshot into the new sub account that gets created for them.
Okay.
So you can effectively copy and paste. Now, the nice thing with that, and if Charles was on this call, he would probably say that should be the option. That should be what you do. The reason being is that gives you an opportunity to have them also agree to your terms and conditions during the checkout process.
Okay.
So Charles is a big advocate of always make people go through your checkout process no matter what. Even if they already have a sub account, always have them go through the checkout process. Even if that gives them a sub account that they're not going to use, it means they have both added their billing details on file, they're paying, but they've also agreed to your terms and conditions, which is helpful if they ever end up filing some kind of a dispute or a chargeback or something of that sort.
Okay.
Any questions on that? Is that helpful?
Very much so, for sure.
Nice. Cool. The next two bits then, so nearing the end of this now, go forth and get clients. This is the bit that I feel like you've pretty much got sussed. You've got some fantastic opportunities in front of you already. There is no best way of getting clients or finding your first clients. And I put this post in the HighLevel Facebook group a few months ago now. You can go and check it out. I basically asked, what are all of the ways that you have ever, how did you get your first clients basically? And there's so many different answers on there from people sharing their experiences and different strategies that they used that worked for them and stuff. And there's a million different ways you can find your first clients. There's loads of examples just in this one Facebook post on its own. And you can go and check that out. I also do like the Hormozy stuff. I've got those free courses linked in here too, if you want to look a little bit more training from the man himself. And then the very, very last step is outsourcing tech support and onboarding. Obviously, companies like Extendly and HL Pro Tools and there's other services out there too. That's what they do. This is the very last step. The reason being, when I worked at Extendly, the number one reason that people left, the biggest reason for churn and cancellations, was nothing to do with Extendly itself, but rather people saying they just don't have any clients or they don't have enough clients. That
Mhm.
was always, and I think still is, the most common reason that people ever cancelled Extendly services is them saying, I don't have enough clients. Getting clients is not something that Extendly helps you with, but you do need clients in order to even need tech support. So I recommend once you have your first two, three, five clients, that then is a great time to then look into actually paying for outsourced tech support and onboarding.
Okay.
Yeah, well, the new Extendly program, with the new Extendly program, you're paying, I think, like $2,000 or $3,000, and then you're paying $39 per sub account as well. It's a big investment. You may have the cash, you may not care, it may not matter to you. But if if you're doing things in order, I would recommend that this is the order. And you don't technically need tech support and onboarding if you don't have clients yet. So I recommend getting the first few on board, even if that means that you're doing the support and you're doing the onboarding. I'd say that's fine because it kind of gives you a taste for what that actually involves. And then you can come to appreciate a service like Extendly's that much more when you then outsource it. You're a little bit more in tune with what it is they're actually doing, what it actually consists of, and then also how much time and effort that's saving you as well. If you've done it yourself a few times, that's my thought process anyway.
Nice.
So, how helpful is any of that?
Very helpful. I've got some homework to do.
Sure.
For sure. But the great thing about this though is that not only do I have the opportunities out there, one of the things that I've in my conversation is that I now have the support of the community here. So
You do.
I'm not doing this by myself, and I've really felt that way for months where I get into calls, I ask questions. I came into these calls, the free calls, and kind of just was a fly on the wall. And then I've just gotten into other groups where everybody's really trying to help each other. Here locally, I'm not the first of what I do. I know there's a couple of people that are working from home with Go High Level, but they're not in the community and they're working for someone else that has Go High
Mhm.
Level. So I'm literally the first person in Jackson, Mississippi doing this. And there's a lot of attention on me with this, and it gets gets me going, honestly. So I'm excited about this because I'm
Fantastic.
going into the chamber meetings and I know people. I've been in this community pretty much my entire life. So
Yeah.
they know who I am and I have the trust. So it's like, hey, dude, what you got for us?
Yeah, that's very cool. You're in
Yep.
a good position. Very exciting. Very
Yep.
exciting. Hopefully that's a decent enough walkthrough of that checklist.